Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So hell is frozen over and the unthinkable has happened, and it didn't just happen last night once, but it happened twice. And that is that Republicans overperformed in not one but two special elections in very different places in the country. And it's been the case for a while that Republicans have been underperforming in these off-year elections, these special elections, and part of it is the fact that they've become the lower propensity party overall. Your Trump voters, they don't really show up for every election. They'll show up for presidential elections. In some places, if you have a competent state party, maybe for like a midterm year or whatever. Connecticut's not really one of those states that I would categorize as having a uniquely competent Republican Party, but still, in a Trump plus not even one district in Connecticut, you saw the Republican candidate go out there and win by 7 percentage points. And all the same people that said leading up to the 2024 election that the special elections are actual proof of real voting data. They're not polls, even though they're like, 10, 20% turnout in some cases. I mean, you had so many people clinging to that narrative, and they just had it completely blown up in their face come election night when Donald Trump won. But this kind of shows where the barometer is to an extent. The fact that Democrats are usually overperforming in them, and now they're a little bit demoralized. And keep in mind, we have a very important election that will be taking place in Wisconsin on April 1st. Again, if you live in Wisconsin, make sure you vote. Take people with you. If you know people in Wisconsin, text your friends, text your family. Make sure they vote for Brad Schimmel for the Supreme Court. We've talked about it quite a bit, talked about it in the last video. I'm sure we're going to be talking about it a lot during the month of March because it's very important and very consequential. And it's important that Republicans show up for every single election. Trump is in the White House. We got to be energized. The left, there's some loud people that are energized, but if anything, because I understand people are going to say, well, you always say you can't overanalyze special elections, and that's true. But what you can do is analyze a trend in them, and maybe this is a one-off, so we'll kind of throw that out there for the record. But if Trump is in the White House and the left is supposedly energized or angry or ready to deliver some blue wave in 2026, you wouldn't expect to see this happening. I mean, you really just wouldn't, because you have Republicans going out there and they're overperforming Trump in a special election by 7 and the other one in California by double digits. And the same people that would talk about the special elections as like a barometer, they're quiet. Many people are trying to cope and they're trying to say, well, it's a non-Trump Republican, but so many Republicans that underperformed Trump in these special elections were also non-Trump Republicans where Donald Trump did not get involved. So you can't really use that as a cope or an excuse. Some people will say, well, the Republican candidates were strong. It's like, okay, well, the Republican candidates were relatively weak in 2022 in some places where Republicans underperformed. Didn't stop people on the left, people in the election mafia from using that as an excuse for why Donald Trump was going to lose in 2024. So regardless, I don't really want to hear about that. The bottom line is you had a guy outgoing, but this seat, which was crucial for Republicans, they needed to hold it, they did. And that is very good for them. Now, this isn't the only election we saw a Republican overperformance in last night. And it's true, they haven't finished counting the ballots in this district because California is California. But I will say that it's not going to change much in terms of the end result. And it is an overperformance whether a runoff is avoided or a runoff is not avoided, because you see this here. This is a Trump plus 4 seat in California. And you have parts of the LA Metro in this district. And you see Tony Strickland, the Republican, very well could end up winning in round 1. If not, it's going to be round 2. But still, you're looking at this, and Republicans overperforming Trump with half the vote in by 13.5 points. Even if that's cut down in the final margin, that's extraordinarily impressive. And you are seeing this recurring theme happen. And you did have a decent amount of turnout here. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of votes in this California district. This is a population heavy district compared to, some of the other states, what we saw in Connecticut, you name it. So you have a sample size here, and you're seeing what's happening. And if there is an explanation for this, maybe you could say that the higher propensity voters in parts of California do tend to be a little bit more Republican. And there's a lot of, I guess you would say, Trump skeptical Republicans that fit into that category. But the California district and the educational makeup of it, the ethnic makeup of it, is extremely different from what we see in the Connecticut district. So the fact that Republicans overperformed in both of these by an average of, 8 to 9 points when all the votes are counted, that is pretty good. That's very good heading into 2026, because people are saying Trump's unpopular. Now they're trying to lie and say, Trump's going to gut Medicaid because, he wants to possibly go in and audit the system, get rid of some of the waste, fraud, and abuse, which is common sense and long overdue, and it's partially why we're in so much debt. It's partially why we've run up a deficit. Now you finally have an opportunity to stop that, but no, the political class is just throwing a temper tantrum about it instead of cheering on the administration. Not very good. If they really want to run on Doge in 2026, be my guest. You want to make sure that a blue wave is buoyed by as much as possible, then be my guest. Go for it, do it. I would encourage that 100%, because at least 2018 was a different time, partially because we were less polarized, so voters were a little bit more movable in some of these places. You look at the district map, there were so many Republicans in districts that were moving to the left that were, a lot of rhinos, but Democrats could easily have knocked them off. It wasn't really a stable majority that Republicans had in the House, and Democrats were able to play their cards right regarding health care, taking advantage of that, running candidates with moderate optics, but still candidates who would vote in line with the far left on literally everything. They at least played their cards right to win enough of those House seats, and you kind of see it. But still, it wasn't like they had a 50-seat majority either. And when you look at 2026, you have redistricting. Democrat states are increasing the amount of Democrat districts, and Republican states are doing the same to a lesser extent because they don't have the same, I guess you would say, drive to play the left's game and to beat the left at their own game. But that's a little bit besides the point, because the main point is when you look at the 2026 House ratings per Cook Political Report, this is not a right-leaning outlet. This is a very establishment left election mafia outlet, and you see how they have the House ratings already out of the gate. Republicans, are they, down in the 100s pre-toss-ups? No, they're actually at 212 and the Democrats are at 205, and there's 18 toss-up districts. Republicans need to win just 6 out of the 18 to retain their majority. They really do. Is it possible? Absolutely, it's possible. It depends on several factors. But like I said, anyone expecting some blue wave is going to be disappointed. And even if Democrats do well, they get their people out, etc., they are going to go out there and they are going to retake the House, but it's not going to be by much. If they win every seat that either they have or went to Trump by 6 or less, they will only have a net gain of 10 House seats, which is roughly what the Republicans' gain was in 2022, and everybody said that's a disappointment. Some people said it was a red trickle. In some states, it was arguably a blue wave. You had a red wave in certain places like Florida, New York, California, which kind of caused the popular vote to go to the Republicans, but a lot of these places that mattered, the districts that mattered for them to pad their majority, they fell short, and that's a problem. So maybe we're just done with wave years. Maybe we're just going to see the midterms be depolarized, but the bottom line is, if Trump delivers, which it does seem as if his promises have passed the House in terms of some of his economic agenda, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, the Made in America corporate tax credits, which is a genius idea, those things are going directly to the Senate. So we'll see what happens there. But still, Trump is hell-bent on passing his agenda, keeping his promises, passing parts of his agenda. that are indeed wildly popular. And if he's able to do that, and Trump's approval rating is decent, which it's already higher than it was in 2017. And keep in mind, his approval rating during the midterms, like on RCP, was like, what, 43% in 2018 around election time. And what was it like at this time of his presidency? Even though the disapproval rating was for sure lower, the approval rating that Trump had was like probably like 46, 47 tops. So it's not like, even if you have a decline of 4, he's still at like 45, 46% approval rating, which is good because he's honestly more personally viewed as favorable. And this time around, you don't want to drop the ball on anything. You don't want to touch any third rails for sure. And if they don't do that and Trump passes his agenda, makes progress at least, ending the war with Russia and Ukraine, slowing the inflation rate. These things are going to take a little bit of time, but you have a year and a half. If he's able to do that, yeah, I think Republicans could keep the House and maybe even expand their majority just based on the seats that are available, based on the fact that Democrats, they actually did pretty well in these swing House races in 2024, better than I think a lot of people anticipated in certain places, to the point where they kind of are at their ceiling. They could retake the House, they could gain seats, but given certain trends, it's just not looking all that great for them. And even if they do go out there and regain the House, it's not going to be by much, which means that they're not going to have this massive majority that's going to be tough to crack in 2028. And if Republicans win that, they could just take the House back there. So you would love to have the trifecta for Trump's last 2 years so you can get more things done. Absolutely. In the meantime, you got to get done as much as you possibly can. But it's encouraging for 2026 to see the fact that, Democrats, special elections don't mean all that much. I've been the first to say it. But the fact that they're not really having the special election magic, despite the fact that they're supposedly energized, raises a few questions. But we'll see when we have Wisconsin Supreme Court race, because that'll be a really big test. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.